Guys. Firestorm, Battle Royale. We got a cheeky teaser today. Some new footage. It's not much, but it's something. Let's see. Is that the tractor? Did they just start the tractor up? My wildest dreams have come true. So this is from a Tides of War Lightning Strikes trailer that's just been released. Even though Firestorm isn't part of the Lightning Strikes chapter, that didn't stop DICE from briefly teasing this at the end of the trailer. Drivable tractors, guys. Now, that might not seem very exciting to some, but being able to drive around on a tractor is just a bit of fun, and perhaps it tells us that Firestorm will be a bit different to the base game, and maybe Criterion aren't afraid to add some, let's say, less serious and experimental fun elements to it. Also, I can see the YouTube video now, winning a round of Firestorm just using a tractor. I'm calling it. I might do it myself, who knows. Now this trailer overall, I thought it was pretty decent and it got me hyped for the new content over the next couple of months. So let's dive in and see what we got then. First up, the co-op mode, Combined Arms. This is our first proper look at it. 4 missions to start with, it seems, and it looks like there's going to be some custom scripting and animations in here that seem interesting. Certainly some new takedowns too, but I'm digging the way this looks. Perhaps it won't just be a tacked on thing and rather a proper co-op experience with some new features, but it does look like it's going to take place in familiar multiplayer maps and environments rather than custom levels, so maybe they've been rejigged a bit to suit co-op, who knows, but I would have liked to have seen some new environments here. Whatever. Next, multiplayer, Squad, Conquest and Rush. 2 new game modes coming in this chapter. Rush is something that we're very familiar with, so there isn't too much to talk about there, but it's still going to be cool to see how DICE implement this in BF5, especially with the extra time that they've potentially had to work on it. In previous BF games, Rush was an extremely popular mode, but in BF1 didn't work that well. I'd say BF4 too. In BF3, Bad Company 2, perfection. This time around, let's hope they get it right. It's only going to be available on a handful of maps though, Twisted Steel, Narvik and Devastation. Squad Conquest on the other hand, we had no real idea about what this was. We could guess, but we didn't have any solid information on it until now. We got a load of info. So Squad Conquest is a smaller version of standard Conquest, and just like with Rush, it's only available on 3 maps, Hamada, Rotterdam and Arras. I know instantly some players might think, well, why are these game modes limited to only 3 maps? But let's hope that's the reason it's 3 maps, because DICE have spent the time to balance these ones so they work well. And based on these screenshots, they've got completely different layouts really. That's the way I'm looking at it. Each team will have 8 players in 2 squads of 4. So it's only a 16 player game mode and there are only 3 flags. I'm getting Conquest Small vibes here, this could be good. Not only that, but there are limited vehicles and spawning is going to be restricted to the headquarters. And DICE say that the idea around this mode is that by restricting certain variables, it forces the players to really think about their strategy and teamwork and try to predict how the other team and other players are going to react. And like I said, it does remind me a bit of old Conquest Small, but with a few variables thrown in. And I'm very interested to give this a go and see how it plays, because it could be cool. Frustratingly, I don't know why, this is going to be a timed limited game mode, and so it will only be available from the 17th until the 30th. So I suppose if it's popular, DICE could add it back at another time. Could be some really sweaty games on the cards here. Rush is also another timed game mode, and that one is only going to be available from March 7th until March 20th. That's right, we're not going to get Rush until March. RIP. Rush will also be available in Grand Operations for the very first time, with a brand new operation that starts on February the 21st. It takes place on the French-Belgian countryside, so I would say Panzerstorm and Arras are the maps of choice. Interestingly, Rush is going to be available in Grand Ops well before it's available as its own game mode the following month, so I suppose we will get to play it a bit earlier there. What about new weapons? Well, as you've already experienced in the first chapter of Tides of War, each week there are going to be new assignments that you can work towards, and when completed, you'll either gain a cosmetic item or a weapon. Now DICE have listed some of the weapons that you can expect from this next chapter. Notice they say some, not all. There will be some surprises, so I expect there'll be more than just these 3 as the chapter goes on much longer than the first one. And the weapons listed at the moment are the ZK383, which is an SMG, so we know that's going to be on medic class. The Model 1944, which is a semi-auto rifle, so let's assume that's going on assault. And finally the M1922, which is a medium machine gun. That's going to be support, of course. In the trailer we also got eyes on another weapon that wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, the Ross MK3. Players of BF1 will have heard that name before. The Ross MK3 was a recon weapon in that game, arguably the best, and it was added right at the end. And it looks as though it's going to make another appearance in BF5. It's not clear when in the chapter it will be playable though, but there is a skin unlock for it towards the end of the chapter rank, so it could in theory be anytime between now and March. Let's talk vehicles then. In my last video I briefly mentioned the Sturmgeschütz 4 as a new vehicle coming in this Tides of War chapter. We got to see it briefly in the trailer, as well as something we hadn't seen before, which is believed to be the British Archer tank destroyer. Now this, I guess, is most likely to be a squad call-in, as DICE have said that there is a new tank destroyer squad call-in, and well, that fits the bill. Interestingly, its gun is fixed in a backwards position, so you've got to turn 180 degrees to get the gun to face forwards. This might seem like a crazy design, but it was essentially a mobile giant cannon and wasn't really designed to fire on the move, and because its cannon was so large, it would have impacted the tank's movement if it were on the front. Certainly a unique vehicle. And we also saw what looked like a Ju-88P variant, possibly the Ducker variant, which was a Ju plane equipped with an anti-tank cannon. Looks a bit futuristic for World War II, but its main purpose was anti-vehicle. Currently, we've got the main Ju-88A type in the game, but I think this would be a separate plane entirely, being the Ju-88P variant instead. And as I mentioned, squad call-ins, it seems that we're going to get two brand new ones for squad orders, which is a bit of a surprise. One of them is a sector artillery, oh god, and the other is a smoke barrage, not so bad. Two quite different call-ins that could both be extremely effective. The smoke barrage, for example, I love the idea of that. Let's say you're playing grand operations or front lines and you're just being bogged down as you're attacking, and your team just really need to push onto a certain point. So you could drop the smoke barrage in front of the enemy's position and get all up in their grill pretty safely by using the smoke. The artillery barrage, on the other hand, worries me a bit, although no, I haven't played with it yet. I don't know what it's like. I've got to see it in action, but I suppose it just depends on how strong it turns out to be before we get too concerned. If it's really strong and it has a similar effect to the V1, then it needs to be priced accordingly, perhaps 30,000 or something like that, or 35,000. I just don't want to see more indirect fire stuff in the game, but it is good to see them adding new options. Maybe you'll be warned of an artillery strike and you'll see where it's going to land. If that's the case, perhaps it won't be so bad. I don't know. Got to try it out. Now in this trailer we saw quite a few new cosmetic items too, and DICE has been kind enough to list exactly what we'll get for each rank of Tides of War as we progress through. Top level this time around will grant you some pretty epic face paint and a gold Lightning Strikes dog tag. On the way though, you can unlock the Gambler Soldier set for Allied, the Aristocrat set for the Axes, and a lot of other vehicle and weapon skins along the way. As well as that, you can unlock special assignments that you can work towards at various levels just to keep you busy. Nice bit of facial hair there. Week 1 to 2 is called A Few Good Soldiers, which will let you unlock the ZK383 and the Model 1944, and then we've got Hold the Line for week 3 and 4, which lets you unlock the M1922 MMG, and then Iron Skin, Armor on the Horizon, and finally Unstoppable. No word yet on the rewards that will be available for those weeks. Now because this chapter is a lot longer than the first one, the max rank in this chapter is 40 rather than 20 for chapter 1. Still no news on assignments changing or RSP though, so fingers crossed man. DICE, you gotta throw us a bone here and raise the level cap as well, please. But there's plenty of new content coming our way. What about gameplay changes in the patch notes? Well, the patch notes were like 8 pages long and they revealed a lot more detailed information, a lot more than I talked about in the previous video I did on this. So let's talk about the death experience. In the new update, the name of the enemy that killed you will now be shown in the game world when you die, and there's a new camera that will follow and zoom towards the killer to better allow you to understand who killed you and where from. I'm also guessing it'll be a nice way of checking out their cosmetics. As well as that, there are improvements to the visual representation of bullets and fixes for the damage indicator data being incorrect. Those things all combined should help you better understand where you're being shot from, and if you do die, where the enemy player that killed you was. In my last video I mentioned the improvement to vaulting, and that's also in this patch. Now there are some balance changes with vehicles too. Half tracks now take more consistent damage, which should make them easier to kill, and all tank cannons will now one hit kill all types of airplanes, even those that have specializations that reduce flak damage. Combine that with the fact that players can now once again shoot down planes with one rocket shot, and I'm sure we're going to have a few more of those only in Battlefield moments coming in the next few months. And I mentioned panzers there briefly. It's worth noting that the delay you had when you change to it from another weapon is now gone, which should make them feel a bit nicer to use when you're trying to get a quick shot off. And I mentioned in my previous video that the SMG class was getting some love, and so in general SMGs are going to have a bit more of a chance at medium range thanks to better accuracy and slightly less recoil. There's been a small tweak to scope glints in this patch too. The intensity of the tint for medium and high powered scopes has been adjusted. If you use a medium scope, your glint will be smaller and less intense than the high powered alternative, and you'll now be able to see sniper glint from slightly further away. And other than that, there are plenty of smaller bug fixes for animations, sounds, game modes, and some balance changes for weapons and gadgets such as throwing knives. All in all, I think there are some great things lined up for this chapter of Tides of War. We have the cart mode coming in February, lots of new weapons, vehicles, cosmetic items, game modes, and hopefully a ton of bug fixes and improvements. So fingers crossed this chapter keeps us going until Firestorm drops in March. The more new content we have, the better. And that's all for today, folks. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. A big thank you for watching, guys. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe for more, hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next one.